Why are we called Negroes? Why are we deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind? Why are we mistreated? Why are we in this condition? Stripped of our name, our language, our culture, our God, and our religion. Here in America, all of our religious training has been gotten by the preacher. He has told us of a heaven way up in the sky that we can't enjoy now, but rather after we die.
And we are live.
Yeah.
Again.
Alive. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Which means
And
peace.
the return of the great, the illustrious Brother Mark.
Yay.
We're
Praise be
so happy to have you
Allah.
on, beloved.
I am so happy to be back, and I am so thankful to see, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad would say, your smiling faces. Co-hosts, let's see who they are. I recognize my brother, who is diagonally that way, and that is my dear brother, Brother Tony Muhammad. How are you, beloved?
I'm doing well, beloved. How are you?
Oh man, I am better by Allah's grace. You know,
praise be to
Allah's. And then, right above me is my beautiful sister, and she is waving and smiling so beautiful. That's none other than Sister Felicia Muhammad. How are you, dear sister?
I am well, thank Allah. So grateful and thankful to be amongst the living. Yes, yes.
I know about that. That's what I'm talking about. And then, last but certainly not least, I call her the mother of the show.
Oh, that's what they call it. Okay.
She is to this side of me, my dear sister, my dear friend, Sister Kalila. How are you, my sister?
Man, I thank Allah for life, for allowing him, for allowing Allah to have me to breathe my own air and have my own thoughts.
Wow.
So
Praise.
I am so thankful,
Praise.
truly thankful and grateful.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, let's get going. Let's get to Brother Tony Muhammad. What you got for us, Brother Tony?
Dear family, we have a special guest tonight. Let me begin properly. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the one God, to whom holy praises are forever due, the Lord of the world, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, the Supreme Being, to whom holy praises are forever due. I am forever thankful to Almighty God Allah for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I thank them both for the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Buenas noches. Sak pase. Frida Land, Abaragani, Hotep, whatever language you greet the people, we're greeting you in that great greeting right now. Assalamu alaikum, family. Welcome to Thursday Night Talks, which is organized and spearheaded by the 7th Region Coalition to help save lives. Yes. We were organized by our 7th Regional Minister, Student Minister Patrick Muhammad, soon after the Criterion message of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, which took place, and we were assembled, we were put together to warn our people for a period of time of a dangerous experimental inoculation passed off as a vaccine. And we were put together as a research team, if you will.
Hmm.
And that evolved into doing podcasts. Well, we're still warning our people, and we're guiding our people through the 9 ministries given to us by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And
Sure.
part of those ministries' intent is to help get us together with our people in unity, not
Mm.
with just us as members of the Nation of Islam working in solidarity with one another, but also working in solidarity with our people who have a common agenda to want to see our people free and want to see the very best for our people in this day and age. And
Sure.
so the ministry that we're going to be focusing on here tonight is the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education is responsible for the mental and moral development of the members of the society by means of formal instruction in a prescribed manner over a prescribed period of time in a system of learning ranging from preschool through primary through advanced academic levels, culminating in the conferring of academic degrees under the direction of a National Board of Education. In addition to academic instruction, students shall receive teaching and training in the way of righteous conduct, decency, and self respect, with the goal of making a better nation of people. And that is what we're seeking to do, beloved family. And to highlight the importance of tonight's discussion, I'm not going to introduce her. Our beloved sister Felicia Muhammad will be introducing her in just a moment. But I want to read some statistics to you. This was published by the New York Times, and you already know that when the mainstream media publishes statistics, in truth, those are just quote unquote official statistics.
Hmm.
The numbers are probably a lot higher. Let
Right.
me or more severe. Let me get into this right here. So according to an April 1st, 2021 New York Times article, Black and Hispanic workers remain underrepresented in science, technology, engineering, and math. Of all workers, including in computing jobs, which have seen considerable growth in recent years. The article further states that the gap in STEM workforce representation is especially large for Hispanic adults. Hispanic workers make up 17% of total employment across all occupations, but just 8% of all STEM workers. There's a gap there. Their share of all STEM workers is up 1% since 2016, in line with their growth in the overall workforce. Black workers comprise 11% of all employed adults, compared with 9% of those in STEM occupations. Their share is lower in some STEM job clusters, including just 5% in engineering and architecture jobs. There has been no change in the share of black workers in STEM jobs since 2016.
My God.
Why is it important that we turn these numbers around through STEM programs, specifically focused on black and brown children? We're going to get into that discussion tonight with our
Yes.
guest.
And let us move right ahead and introduce our guest tonight. So we
Man.
have Dr. Ma'at. She's a native of Baltimore, Maryland, a U.S. Army veteran who served a total of 8 years. And while in the military, she received an undergraduate degree in electrical engineering from Morgan State University. She continued her education at Morgan, eventually receiving a doctorate, in engineering.
Just
All
a
right.
doctorate. That's
Just a
it.
doctorate, that's
That's
all.
it. That's it.
Dr. Ma'at currently is a professor at Morgan State University School of Engineering in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, where she teaches 3 core classes. She utilizes an African-centered pedagogy to instruct and engage her students So, pedagogy, for those of you who may not know what that is, okay, it is the theory and practice of teaching and how it affects and is affected by the social, political, and psychological development of students, okay? It's a combination of teaching methods, learning activities, and learning assessments. Okay, pedagogy. Say it with me, pedagogy. All right.
Pedagogy.
So she is also a committee member of and instructor for Females Are Cyber Stars, FACS, FACS, summer camp at Morgan State University, which was created to increase African American female interest in participation in STEM. All right. She serves as an instructor for the Verizon Innovation Summer Camp at Morgan State University, which was designed to expose middle school students to STEM concepts. Dr. Ma'at is a strong advocate of African centered education and is deeply committed to making learning enjoyable for children. She is the co founder and president of, and if I mess this up, Dr. Ma'at, just please correct me.
She's gonna correct you when she comes up.
Yes. It Productions, a family-owned and operated Baltimore-based company that creates educational programs that foster self-love, strengthen self-identity, and heighten self-esteem. She is the executive producer of Meltrek, a multimedia program that teaches children about the history, culture, and achievements of continental and diasporan Africans. Meltrack is being utilized in 30 states and 10 countries.
Wow.
Wow. She is also the creator of Conscious Ingenuity, a program that uses STEM to build character, confidence, and capabilities. The program is currently being developed at several Baltimore City schools and Black independent schools. Dr. Ma'at is also the co founder of the ASAFO Training Camp, a cultural enrichment, character refinement, and manhood development experience for preteen and teenage boys. She's the host and founder of Truth to Power Talk with Dr. Ma'at, a platform that is committed to elevating the voices of African researchers, scientists, doctors, humanitarians, and entrepreneurs. She has interviewed people such as Dr. Patricia Newton, Scheherazade Ali, Dr. Wade Nobles, Dr. Molife Kete Asante, Dr. William Doherty, Dr. Julius Garvey, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Professor James Small, Dr. Titka Kilimanjaro, Dr. Julian Malveaux, Dr. Kaba Kamani, Anthony T. Browder, Dr.
Yes.
Boyce
That was
Watkins, and
Kaba-
more.
Kaba Kamin.
Kaba Kami. Okay, thank you.
Or Kamane.
Dr. Ma'at has received a number of honors, such as MSU Office of Academic Affairs Creativity Award, Inspire Her Award, B1 Educational Award, the Black Power Award, the Tau Beta Pi Engineering Honor Society, Lockheed Martin Scholarship recipient, Society of American Military Engineers Scholarship recipient, and a Distinguished Honor Graduate of the U.S. Army Finance School. Let's bring to the stage Dr. Ma'at.
Yes, yes.
The warrior queen.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
salam.
It's all-
Wow.
It's always good to be in the presence of my brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam. Ashe, I
Ashe.
love I
Ashe.
love the nation. I am a huge supporter of the nation and all of the magnificent, we say blacknificent work
That's right.
that
That's
you
right.
all have been putting in for decades. You all have been putting in work. So we can't talk about black empowerment without talking about the work of the Nation of Islam. So I
All
That's
right.
right.
Praise
appreciate
be to
That's
I
right.
Allah.
appreciate. So
Well,
when my brother Tony Muhammad called and said, I need you on this call. I want you here. I said, you got it, brother. Let's just work out a date and time. I will be there. And so here I
Alhamdulillah.
am, and
Dr.
I
Mad,
appreciate.
we've been putting in work, but you've been putting in work
Right,
yourself.
as we can
And that
read.
and your light shines bright, beloved. So that's why you got invited on. We got to
Ashe.
have the serious discussion right here
Yes,
because,
yes,
beloved, we're at war,
yes.
Absolutely.
and our children are falling by way as casualties.
Mhm.
And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us that we cannot afford to lose another generation. This is the most boldest generation that has existed. They're fearless, but what they need is right guidance
Absolutely.
because
Right.
we're losing them, Dr. Mad.
Absolutely.
I read some statistics when we opened up the show, um, which are alarming. But of course, we already know when the enemy publishes um, um, statistics like that, the numbers are actually a lot worse. Why is it so important for our youth to become proficient in math, science, and engineering? Let's begin there.
Yeah, let's begin there. First of all, right now we live in an age of technology, right? So the world is becoming increasingly dependent on technology.
Right.
And so in order for our youth to be competitive, in order for them to secure economic opportunities, they have to have STEM related skills. I actually like to say STEAM with science, technology, engineering, art, agriculture, and mathematics. So I always say it's a double A for me. But they
Right.
have to have those skills in order to be competitive in this ever-changing world. And right now, there's a divide that's happening. So the world is changing, it's becoming more and more dependent upon technology, but at the same time, a divide is happening. So you have people that have the skills to keep up, and then you have folks who don't have the skills. The folks who don't have the skills are black and brown people. Not because not because we're incapable of developing the skills, but because we don't have access. See, a
Mhm.
lot of black and brown children live in urban communities.
Mhm.
And a lot of urban communities, they lack or we lack the necessary resources to properly house a STEM program. And I'm using STEM intentionally right now, a STEM program, because as you know, that a STEM program, it requires extensive resources. And so in a lot of urban settings, they don't have the resources to necessarily deploy, an adequate STEM program. But the white folks do. They have it.
Right.
And a lot of schools and white communities, they have a STEM focus and they have the resources to deploy an adequate STEM program. We don't. So our children are behind. They're behind in math. If you look at a lot of the urban schools or the city schools, they're behind in math. A lot of them are graduating, barely taking algebra 2. Well, that's a problem because if in order to successfully matriculate through a STEM program when you get to college, whether it's 2 years or 4 years, you need to have at least completed calculus 1. And if you did not complete calculus 1 in high school, when you get to college, you're already behind. Our
Right.
children are barely getting past algebra 1.
Right.
Then a lot of them are graduating with very weak reading comprehension skills. That's a problem when they come into the university. And so that is what's happening. So what's ultimately going to happen is we're going to be locked out. Right now, we already know that there's a racial wealth gap. We know that, right? The racial wealth gap, it's going to be huge if
Right.
we don't get involved in STEM, because in a few years, and it's happened rapidly with AI, taking over. You got AI, you got cybersecurity, you got machine learning. A lot of the technological advances are now replacing human labor.
Yep.
And so what's going to happen when they no longer need you at the cash register. They don't need you at the warehouse stocking the shelves, or they're using autonomous driving cars for Ubering and Lyfts and for deliveries. We will literally be locked out of the economy, which is going to, of course, exacerbate the already existing racial wealth gap.
Right, right. And the beautiful thing I want to add to that, because when you specify you know, the urban area, because we're dealing with black and brown,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
In addition to the Caucasian area. I mean, I can bear witness because I actually enrolled in a white, predominantly white school because I knew that the education was much better across the river versus the education that it was teaching in our community. And it was astounding. I mean, when I say it was from day and night, and it was just same curriculum, right? Because it was public school.
Right.
However, it was how it was taught.
That's right.
And it's very important in regards to how it was taught. And even with, me going from this urban school to now a 95% white school, I was actually at a sixth grade level in the 10th grade based off of testing.
Oh yeah.
Right. And we'll talk about the testing in a minute, because that testing process is also geared for our black, especially our black boys to fail.
Absolutely.
But I can bear witness to what you're saying. You're right on point. And we're talking about early 80s. So it only is getting worse now that we're in this modern time today. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Absolutely.
If I could bear witness quickly, just when we went all shelter in place in 2020, I can't tell you the amount of children that was trying to teach online. They couldn't come online because they had no Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And that's a reality when we're dealing with our communities.
Absolutely. They didn't have Wi-Fi during the pandemic. They
Right.
didn't have laptops. Remember, a lot of the schools had to send out Google Chromebooks for the students, so they didn't, they just, our kids and that put us behind, because now instead of focusing on learning, they were focusing on trying to get the equipment to the households in order to continue learning. And so that was an obstacle in and of itself. And we're actually still seeing, even in the K through 12 system and on a collegiate level, the effects, the adverse effects of the pandemic in 2020, 2021. And then we started getting things in 2022. Things started normalizing again in 2022. But we're still actually seeing the effects of that. That actually set our children back also with the having to learn online. So absolutely, I agree 1,000% with you, Brother Tony Muhammad.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah.
Well, Dr. Maya, another question that comes up is this: how much work actually goes into preparing for a virtual STEAM program for children?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, we gotta, I mean, that's a loaded question. He said actually like a virtual STEAM program, and shout out to the UACI. And I see one of my parents, one of my very supportive parents, Sister Rashamella, she's in the building. I see that she's in the chat, and her son Zion has been in our virtual STEM program for the past 2 summers. So we created it 3 years ago, and he's been in for 2 out of the 3 summers. So I do see the Sister Rashamella right there in the building. So peace to you, Sister Rashamella. But a lot goes into it, but we have the platform. So to deploy it is easy, right? Because you have Zoom, you have Google Meet, so you can deploy it on any platform you choose. But it's about getting the curriculum and the pedagogy. What type of curriculum are you going to deploy? And that is the time consuming part, right? So what are the topics? What topics do you want to touch on? And then how do you want to teach those topics? What equipment do you want to utilize? What strategies do you want to utilize to keep the children engaged, right? Because they're online and they're stationary. And also, being online, the children have a lot of distractions. So they might go to a browser, they're clicking on browsers, and they may play games. A lot of the children like to play Roblox and all these other games. So you want to make sure that you keep their attention. So some of the challenges, if I had to list them, would be definitely figuring out, a curriculum, definitely a pedagogy, and then teaching strategies to make sure that you keep their attention because they're, busy people. And, our children are very, very energetic. You want to make sure that you captivate them, that you keep them engaged. So what type of activities, are you implementing in this virtual STEM program? You got to think about those things. And we have some beautiful activities. I'm sitting here thinking about some of the teaching strategies that Baba Amin of the Uhuru Academy created for the UACI camp. And one is that he brings you in. We start off, of course, with libation and prayer. And then he has what he calls a turn up exercise. So he gets the children motivated. They start jumping and dancing and warming up. And then after that, they sit down. We do creative writing with them. After creative writing, we jump into like the African proverb of the day. And then they get an interactive history lesson in STEM. And so they learn about all of the great contributions that our people have made to the growth and expansion of the STEM disciplines. Then we give them a lot of breaks in between. And then after that, they come in and they learn, a STEM concept. It may be cybersecurity, machine learning, artificial intelligence. And we also make sure that we include a lot of hands-on activities. So we send out STEM kits to the babies so that while they're learning with us, they're playing, they have something physical in their hands that they can play with, while they're learning.
That's very important.
Yeah, so a lot goes in those sort of things.
Very important nowadays.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So even though it's a virtual program, it's good to have kids send out physical things to them, something that they can actually touch in order to keep them engaged.
Praises be to Allah. Wow, that's wonderful. You're on mute, sister.
I'm still
okay,
on.
there we go. So let me ask you, with that, building on that, what success stories would you like to share from the STEM summer program?
So I actually have a whole report. I have like a couple of, I'm like, I could share my screen just to show you all the key findings, if possible, or I can read them to you. Let me pull them up really quickly.
Let's see.
I want you all to see it with your own eyes, some of our key findings for the program. Let me go here and then pull up the UACI. Here we go. Okay. So if I may, I'm getting ready to share my screen with you all. If you could put it on. Here we go. So you're looking at a report that was prepared by Impact Allies for the summer of 2023. And I want to read some of these key findings. Okay. So in 2023, so we had 22 kids who participated in the UACI camp. And of the 2022, 20 of them, they took a pre and post survey. Okay. And what we found, and I'm going to scroll down. Oops, I'm sorry. What we found, I want to read some of these key findings. Confidence and interest in STEM. Okay. So it says right here that I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. That was 2023. So their confidence in STEM increased in all of the categories. So we saw that their confidence increased in science, their confidence increased in math. So by confidence, I mean that they self-reportedly feel like they can do better in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So we saw that their confidence increased. And so I'm going to read some of these captions. It says confidence and interest in STEM, mean confidence interest scores were highest for engineering and technology and the lowest for math. So it says right here, mean confidence interest scores for engineering and technology, science, and math all increased after the camp through the differences. It says, though the differences were not significant, they were talking about the t-test. So if you look at percentage wise, it was significant. But if you did a t-test, it wasn't significant. And that's what she's saying right here. It says, however, many of the individual questions that asked about participants' confidence and interest in STEM show notable increases from before the camp, pre to after the camp. So then you go on and look at the different categories. So it says participants showed the greatest gain from pre to post for the following statements. Math is hard for me. Math has been my worst subject. I am sure I could do advanced math work. We saw that after they went through the UACI camp, that they felt confident in their ability to do math, to do science, to do engineering, to do technology. We also saw that after the camp, the college plans, look right here. It says a large increase in intention to go to college was seen in pre to post camp, 50 percentage points from 40 to 90%. So at the beginning of the camp, 40% of them said, you know what, I'm interested in going to college. But by the end of camp, 90% of our students said, I want to go to college. Okay.
Come on, beloved. Come on.
Yeah, and so this is another one. It says STEM knowledge. It says participants were slightly more knowledgeable about where STEM originated, because we wanted to drive home to our children that STEM originated with Black people, that we are the pioneers of science, technology, engineering, art, agriculture, and mathematics. And so that is why we infused in our STEM curriculum what we call African or Black STEM history. We want our children to know that we created these disciplines. We created them. And so we have to go back and get what's ours. So in the, Afrocentric tradition, we say Sankofa, go back and return, go back and return, and go back and fetch what's yours. So it says right here, the participants were slightly more knowledgeable about where STEM originated. It says the participants were more likely to say that their African ancestors used science and math to understand nature and humans, because that's another thing. We wanted them to understand how we viewed and utilized STEM as opposed to how white folks view and utilize STEM. See, they use STEM to control and to dominate nature and human beings. That is not how our ancestors viewed and utilized STEM. We viewed and utilized STEM as a means of understanding the physical and natural world. We utilize STEM to understand ourselves. We utilize STEM to survive in our environments. We didn't utilize STEM to dominate and to control and to exploit and to destroy. So we wanted to make sure that our students understood how we view and utilize STEM and how they did. And we also wanted to encourage them to use STEM knowledge to advance us today. So we talk about nation building a lot. And I told my students, our students, the participants, that you can't nation build without science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. See, I'm a child of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and for years he's been promoting and advocating for us to cultivate, he said, a generation of thinkers and scientists. He's been saying that for decades, and so that's what I'm in the business of doing with my team. So it says right here, the participants' level of familiarity with the contributions of continental Africans, African Americans, and other diasporan Africans have made to STEM, it increased. Okay, so it says that 95% of the participants view the contributions that continental Africans, African Americans, and other diasporan Africans made to STEM as their own. So we wanted to let them know it's Black people all over this planet.
That's right.
And so their contributions are our contributions. So if they're winning and they're doing things, and whether those brothers and sisters are in Europe or, the UK or Africa or in the Caribbean, that is also seen. Those are seen as our contributions as well. So we wanted to let them know that we're all one, throughout the diaspora. So that's something we drove home in the UACI camp. So it talks about, look at this, awareness of those who made important contributions to STEM increased from pre to post. And it says, when asked to name those who made important contributions to STEM, participants were most likely to say, they said Imhotep, George Washington Carver, Kathleen Johnson, and Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop. So we're teaching our babies about the contributions that we've made. And so they love the program. It says right here, the program was rated a 9.15 on average. It says 55% of them rated the program a 10 out of 10. They say right here, the participants gave the program high ratings across the board on all aspects that were asked about. It says 85% of the participants said that the camp seemed different than other STEM camps or classes they've taken, primarily because of the specific content focused on African Americans. So our children, they thrive in an environment that is centered around us, our history, our culture, our interests, our learning style. And so they said it was different because everything that we did in this camp, it was focused on Blackness. It was focused on us. And so they absolutely loved it. And they said that they use words such as great, incredible, amazing, empowered, inspired, and motivated to describe how they felt about learning from people who look like them.
Come on.
See, so it's important.
important.
See, right
Yes.
now in the, I call it the public school system, but the public school system right now, it is being ruled, it's being controlled, it's being dominated by middle-aged white women. 81% of the school teachers are white.
That's
And
right.
so what does that say? What does that mean? And I remember I had the honor of interviewing Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. And he said, when I was talking about that, we were unpacking that statistic. What does that mean that 81% of the school system is run by middle-aged white women? Then, and this is a school system that is predominantly attended by Black and brown people. What does that mean? That means that literally the future of Black and brown people is in the hands of white women. Think about that. Because they when you go to school, and this is what I drive home to parents when I talk to them about education. I said, education is not something that you just get, just something that you get, some item that you get, to be successful in society. That's a lot going on when your child is matriculating through an educational process. Their minds are being shaped, their values, their morals, their worldview, their personality, all of those things are happening within your education process. And so when we put the minds, when we leave it to the dominant society, when we leave it to white women to educate our babies, we are allowing literally white women to mold and shape their minds, their worldview, their personalities, their morals, and their values, even their interests. And so it's important that we educate our babies, that we educate them. I'm sitting over here right now thinking about Carter G. Woodson in his book, The Miseducation of the Negro. Carter G. Woodson said, we're the only people who take our most valuable possessions. I might be butchering the quote, but you all know what I'm getting ready to say.
Right.
Which are the minds of our babies, and put that in the hands of another group of people. That's what he said. And our babies want to be taught by people who look like them. Right. There's a statistic out that says that exposure to one or two Black teachers increases the chances of our babies going to college. Just exposure to one or two teachers, one or two Black teachers. And so here, and I'll land my plane and let me go through these. I'm getting ready to land. Look, I'm getting ready to land my plane. I'm getting ready to land my plane, but it says right here, they thought that the camp was different because it was focused on us and how they enjoyed, look at this, learning from people who look like them. And then they said, it says their favorite parts included learning about their ancestors. And then look at this, all of the interactive stuff, the Kahoot, the writing, the teachers, and coding. And so I'm gonna land my plane there. But that is the type of feedback that we're getting from not only the UACI camp. That's what we do during the summer. All year round, we have a program called Conscious Ingenuity, where we implement the same strategies, same curriculum. And I literally just got the evaluation report today, and it's the same feedback. Our children love it, and and the teaching strategies and curriculum that we are using has been proven to be effective.
Praise be to Allah. Wow. Thank you.
Dr. Mott, I have to bear witness to that because I'm in the classroom, and I told just recently at the open house at the school I work at that these children are looking for themselves in every subject, every discipline.
Yeah.
And if that is not presented to them, they're going to be turned off. We as teachers have to do everything that we can to have these examples, these shining examples that have come in the past and are here present in our midst today, for them to know exactly, have an idea of what direction to go in
Right.
life beyond football or beyond basketball or beyond rapping or beyond whatever images are being presented to them constantly through these phones and through social media and presented to them constantly by other adults that don't know any better. We have to be the difference as educators.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. And it's so beautiful that you mentioned that, because um especially mentioning our dear champion in our midst, the most honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I have a quote from his teacher, the
Mm,
most honorable Elijah Muhammad. He indicates that education is the torchlight of civilization.
mm,
Civilizations begin with knowledge, and a civilization ends with knowledge that originates that civilization that starts to decline. Now, what do you think about the decline of our civilization based on the education that is being provided?
a great question. Beautiful question. What they're getting, I wouldn't even call it education. What our children are receiving right now, that's not education. It's
Mm,
miseducation. It's
mm,
indoctrination. And so
mm,
you see a decline in what's happening because they're not getting educated, they're being miseducated. Dr. King said this in 1947. He was 18 years old. He was attending Morehouse College, and he wrote a paper on the purpose of education. And he said the purpose of education is the cultivation of intelligence plus character. That's not what's
mm,
happening in the public school system. So
mm,
that's why you see a decline. You're actually seeing the effects of what happens when you miseducate a group of people, when you
mm,
indoctrinate a group of people. Dr. Amos Wilson, he talked about in one of his lectures the purpose of education. And he said the purpose of education is to ensure is to advance us and to also ensure our biological survival. And
mm,
that is not what is happening right now. So you see that decline occurring right
mhm.
now amongst our children in terms of their morals, their values, their interests, their aspirations.
Right,
You see decadence. That's what you're seeing right now. That's you see we see a lot of degeneracy
right.
because they're not being educated. They're being
Right.
miseducated. Did I answer your question, Sister
Yes, you
Muhammad?
did. And
Okay.
the thing is, to add to what you're saying is,
Mhm.
um, we have talent but not character
Come on. Come on.
in our young, like beautiful, beautiful, and they know that they're talented. That's why
Absolutely.
they show they tell everywhere. But the character, and that's why you have so many one hit wonders. They come and they go. They're trendy, but without character, they're declining. It's easy for them to be a you know a statistic versus history.
Mm,
So I totally agree. Without character, you really can't even build a life or a future as it relates to being a trendsetter of this
absolutely.
of this community. So I definitely bear witness, and thank you. Yes, you definitely answered my question, sis.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna, if I could add, character is now being almost the equivalent of being able to pass a test, which
Mm,
Right.
is sad.
That is true.
And here in Florida, they've actually increased testing, and it doesn't show really the actual intelligence of our children. You're just teaching them how to pass a test. That's
Right.
what it comes down to, and no critical thinking is really involved. I want to couple my next question, Dr. Maat, with I'm going to show a question from the viewing audience because it's related to what I'm going to ask right here. Brother Nolan writes, I'm home schooling this year. I've received $35,000 this year through the Step Up for Students PEP program. Is there any way I could send or use funds for a program through these very STEM studies curriculums? And he said over here, FYI, my children and I are watching.
Beautiful.
Because I know that you've developed these beautiful programs, Dr. Maat, and in many cases it's been free to the children that you've been servicing. So do you have any upcoming STEM online programs during the fall or winter months? Are you going to resume next year during the summer?
Absolutely. So great question. Great question. And so the conscious ingenuity, that is a program that functions year round. And that's typically we're typically is an in-person program. Online, however, we will be offering the UACI STEM camp in the winter. So we're going to start offering it seasonally. Before, for 3 consecutive summers, it was only offered, of course, during the summer. But now we're going to offer the STEM program in the winter, during winter break, when the children are out, for Christmas and New Year. So we are going to offer it then, and then we're going to offer it again during spring break. So around the end of March, early April. So we do want to offer the UACI STEM camp seasonally, and it is virtual. So that means anybody from anywhere can join the UACI STEM camp. You just have to go to uacistemcamp.com. That is uacistemcamp.com. In fact, the site is live. If you click on the registration link, you can literally register your child for that STEM program right now. Also, we are putting together a conscious ingenuity curriculum. We're going to make that available online. That curriculum, and I can show you all a peek. See, I don't want to show all my stuff, but I can show you all. I show it to the nation. I show it to the nation. I show it to you all. But we have a curriculum that we are getting ready to offer online, and it's going to be comprised of, you'll have lesson plans, lesson slides, lecture videos, hands-on videos showing you how to do the projects, and we'll also send you out the equipment. And so we're working on the videos now. And hold on, I can give you all a sneak peek. I can give you all a sneak peek.
Thank you.
No problem. I should have had all this stuff prepared, but here we go. I give you guys a sneak peek. Here we go. So where is it? STEM lessons.
Is being Dr. Maat, one thing that's being asked to please include the website on the chat. So maybe can you give us the website again?
Absolutely. So I'll put it in the private chat.
Okay, good.
Yep. So they can go to uacistemcamp.com.
We'll be sure to put it up.
Yeah. They can also go to Conscious Ingenuity. ConsciousIngenuity.com. Hold on. Okay, so those are the links for the STEM programs. And so I'm going to share my screen again. So these are our lesson plans. A typical lesson plan looks like this. A typical lesson plan, and let me just grab any lesson plan. Okay, that's making a trust bridge. I don't want to choose that one. I mean, I can, but I don't think that's as detailed as I would like for it to be. I'll do defense in depth, which is a cybersecurity concept. And so a typical lesson plan, let me zoom in. Typical lesson plan, and this is for, you see, grades 4 through 8th, but you can adapt that to lower grade levels. You have the lesson overview, the teacher planning and preparation, the essential questions that will be asked during the lesson objectives, the materials that you'll need, the lesson vocabulary, and then the lesson procedure. Okay. And then the hands-on, the description of the hands-on activity. So this is for something we call it's a cybersecurity concept called defense in depth. So now I'm going to take you to the defense in depth lesson slides. So you would get a lesson plan that describes the lesson. And then you would also get, let me go to the slides. Cybersecurity. where's here it is. This is defense in depth. So you would also get the slides. Now, what are the first thing you see? The first thing you see are the red, black, and green colors, right? You know, the liberation flag. And so you'll get, this is what we do. And then the first thing we do is we affirm our children. We tell them every day you must do what? Listen and learn, be a leader, know that you come from greatness, be a positive representative of your family, be a dynamic extension of your race, and strive daily to be great. So they have to recite that every lesson. Then we move them into a person. Then we move them into a person in STEM, right? That looks like them. And so we highlight someone who looks like them. And then we give them a warm up, right? Like a review question. So we give them a warm up. We test their prior knowledge, and then we do a call and response. What are we here to do? And the children say they're here to learn, you know, and then we say our focus is defense and death. And so then we go through our learning objectives, our key terms with the students. We talk about what defense and death is, the key components of it. And then we show them videos. And notice throughout you see prompts. So different questions that we ask them that they answer, knowledge checks, and all of that stuff is embedded. Then we get to the end of the lesson. They have a knowledge check. They have a group activity. They have an exit ticket. And then we do a hands-on activity. All right. And so this is what it typically looks like. And let me show you the videos. I have young Black students over at Morgan State University putting together these videos, and we haven't finished yet. They'll probably get on me and say, Doc, why did you show the video? We didn't add it. We didn't add any music or any type of animation. So they'll probably get me, but I'm going to show you all a sample of the videos. And so this will be, I will be making this available soon. Where is it? Here it is. Completed videos. So this is an example of them. I'll show you. Okay, we'll do this one. They're gonna get me. All right, let me share my screen again and share my audio. So this is a hands-on video. Please keep in mind that this is rough. Like we didn't add any animations. Nothing to it yet. So
it's a work in progress.
Yes.
And Dr. Ma, what could we say that this is an exclusive?
Yes, this is definitely exclusive.
This is
definitely a world premiere right here.
We got excited. We are exclusive.
All right.
Only on the Seventh Region Coalition. You heard it.
All right.
Absolutely. Make sure you're sharing the sound, Dr. Ma'at, so we can hear it.
Oh, okay. I didn't. Let me start playing it. Let me play it. Tell me if you hear it.
Tour with Muhammad, my man. Come on.
Can you hear it?
No, I don't hear anything.
Oh, okay. No. I thought. Okay. Sorry. I thought it. No wonder I thought it. It says share. Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. I see it. I didn't click that. Okay. Here we go.
For this activity, we'll be making simple LED circuits. In this activity, we'll use a battery to illuminate 3 LEDs in 2 different configurations, series and parallel. The first LED circuit will consist of arranging 3 LEDs in series with a dropping resistor and a battery. The second LED circuit will consist of arranging 3 LEDs in parallel with a dropping resistor and battery in series with those 3 parallel LEDs. The equipment you'll need are as follows: a 220 ohm resistor, 3 3-volt LEDs, a 9-volt battery, a battery clip, and a breadboard. For activity 1, we'll be creating a series configuration. And when you look at your LED...
And then let me just kind of fast forward. So we go through, we show you everything, how to put the series, how to put the circuit together. We explain what a breadboard is. We explain what each device is. And we show how you can connect your battery to it and how you can power up the LEDs. So you see right here, the LEDs are glowing up as soon as he created the circuit and inserted, the battery. So we explain simple circuits with them, and you see the hands. So these are young Black men, and I can actually show you a picture of the brothers who are putting this together for me. Let me stop sharing. I do want to highlight those young warriors who are putting together this beautiful beautiful set of hands-on videos. So let me pull up them. This is who and I'm gonna show you my team as well, man. Where is the 105? Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right, let me share my screen. I call them my dream team right here.
All right.
This is my dream team. This is my dream team right here. And let me enlarge them.
Wow, that's
so
beautiful.
This is my team right here. Right now we have 11 Black engineering students, Black and brown engineering students, because I'm looking at Chaz right here. That's my Hispanic child right there. I always say all of them like my children, but Black and brown students who are going into the communities teaching STEM to our babies. And so right now, and I have about 11 or 12 instructors, and I have several students who they're like, Doc, I want to join the program. I want to be a part of this movement, because I tell them it's a movement. You're part of a family. Conscious Ingenuity, we are a family, but you're a part of a movement to make sure that the next generation, to make sure that we're producing a generation of conscious STEM people. That's what we want. That's why we call it conscious ingenuity, not just ingenuity, but conscious ingenuity. And so you see, we have the students here, and the students that the guy that you saw his hands on the video, that was Amon. He is my lead instructor for conscious ingenuity. The voice that you heard was Mr. Olatobi, this brother right here. And then this is Chaz. All three of them are holding up a plaque for outstanding service to the community. So this is I call these three brothers my dream team. And then these are all of my students. They're like children. They're like my babies. But these are my students who go right into the community to deploy the Conscious Ingenuity program. So
praise be to Allah.
Thank you.
Praise be to Allah.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Excellent.
We got an exclusive.
Yeah, you guys got an exclusive. And it's another thing that I do want to drive home.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to drive home, and I love the title, right? You said the paradigm shift, unlocking our divine potential through STEM. Science. Let's talk about just science and math. We have to understand. I always tell people that science and math helps us understand ourselves and the world around us. It helps us to study the physical and natural world. Well, what are you really studying? You're really studying the mind of the Creator. Right. So I tell folks that when you're studying and learning science and mathematics, you're really practicing spirituality. It's really a spiritual thing. I know that white folks will want us to believe that is nothing spiritual about science and mathematics. But science and mathematics is the language of nature. Therefore, it's the language of the Creator, mathematics and science. So when you're studying that, it's a spiritual thing. But that's not what's taught and promoted in the Western Hemisphere, right? They disconnect science and technology and engineering and math with culture. There's a disconnect. Between STEM and spirituality. But the way we viewed it and used it, it was all interconnected. Right? Everything, nature, the Creator, all of that. And we use science and math to understand those relationships. So I do want to add that. People got upset when I said that online, but I said when you're practicing mathematics and science, you're really practicing spirituality. That's what you're really practicing.
Dr. Maude, I gotta say this: if we take it fall back, and I don't think that this is the furthest back we could go, but the example of Imhotep,
yes,
who was a master scientist and architect, and he was sent by the ruler of Kemet or Egypt to go quell a conflict in one of the cities, he was a master diplomat. He was a poet. He was a priest.
Come on.
He was
Come
all
on.
of that wrapped up into one. Why can't we be the same today?
Come on.
And you know, the
Come on.
beautiful thing about this, and you know, science is science, but even Yaku, who
Come on.
grafted the devil,
Mhm.
he was a brilliant science. Right
Absolutely.
now, we're dealing with that science right now to this day. So I digress.
That's a conversation for another time. My
Right.
God.
So we're talking about scientists, right?
Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
Nature
Right.
and how
Right.
that was created and formed, you know,
Yeah.
into us, into a weaker side of us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but again, that's another story.
Right. Yep. Yep. So, Dr. Ma'at, thank you for bringing that aspect in. And based off of your experience, what are some other and most effective ways to inspire our youth to become more interested in STEM?
So to become more interested, okay, and this is good because I just literally wrote and published a paper, and I can send it the link so you all can drop that in the chat. So I proposed what's called an African-centered STEM educational model, you know, for the edification of African American STEM learners. And so to get our children involved in STEM, let me show you a diagram. Let me bring that up. I probably should have had all of this stuff locked and loaded, but I didn't plan on showing all of this stuff. So let me pull up the diagram to show you what do we need to get. I want to give you something. I want to give up. I'm a visual person if you haven't figured that out. Yeah. I like to. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Here is the diagram. African Center STEM model. Here it is. And let me share my screen again, just to give people a visual. So what would it take to get our babies more interested in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics? If you could add,
Yes.
there we go. Let me enlarge this model here. First of all, we have to make sure that they have instructors who look like them. Okay. Ethnically matched instructors. You know, we have, and I remember, peace be upon the soul of Dr. Patricia Newton. We call her Nana, Dr. Patricia Newton. And I remember in her lecture, you know, some years ago, and she was a neuroscientist, an African-centered psychiatrist. She often talked about mirror neurons, and she said that in your brain you have these mirror neurons that imitate what you see, right? And so we need to put them. We need to put people who look like them in front of them, teachers, people who are successful in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We got to make sure they see it, because if you see it, then you'll want to emulate it. So so imagery is very, very important. I don't think people understand how much imagery shapes the way we think, the way we feel, you know, our self-esteem, our confidence. I don't think people understand that. And so we definitely need to put more people who look like them in front of them. So that's why here you see at the top, I have ethnically matched instructors. Okay. Then we have the integration of, I said, African ethics and village practices. So making sure we create a learning environment that reflects our homes, our communities, so our culture. So you got to make sure that while we're teaching them the STEM concepts, that it's not disconnected from our culture, our everyday lives, making sure that it's relevancy. You don't want the students sitting there thinking, well, why are they teaching this concept? I can't use this when I log off this computer or when I walk out of this classroom. So we want to make sure that everything is relevant. We also want to incorporate, you know, our philosophy and our epistemology. So how we think, our ways of knowing, our ways of processing information, right? Our ways of learning into the curriculum. I always say here, and I'm sorry, next here, it says the use of African-centered teaching strategies. Call and response in our community, that's really big. You know how Minister Farrakhan say, talk black to me. It keeps you engaged, and you talk about, yeah, you start talking back.
Look,
So
we've been engaging with you since the beginning of this program.
So yes. So making sure that we implement strategies like that, you know, call and response, making sure that we constantly do knowledge checks. Also, over here, an emphasis on interactive and collaborative learning. We are a communal group of people. We're communal. We learn together. That's how we learn. So making sure that our children are engaged in small projects, right? Small projects, small settings, you know. And then it says right here, STEM curriculum integrating historical and modern contributions of us. So making sure that our children are well aware that we are the pioneers of STEM, and that we have contributed greatly to the growth and expansion of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and making sure that that is highlighted over and over. And what that does is it gives our children a sense of ownership. Now we own it. It's ours. Right now, a lot of our children think that science is a white thing. They honestly think that science and math, that's a white thing. No, it's a black thing. It began with us. And so we need to reclaim that and give them a sense of ownership. It's ours. And let's get back to owning what is rightfully ours.
Praises be to Allah. You know, back to look, it seems like we're connected, we're using synergy, because I'm going to go right back into the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaching another quote from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that a savage is a person that has lost the knowledge of himself and who is living a beast life. However, knowledge is the key to success. How does your STEM program provide knowledge of self and the key to success in the future minds as it relates to our youth?
Oh, that was loaded. You got to read that to me one more time, Sister.
No problem.
You said how does it provide knowledge? You said first. I know I'm trying to just make sure I understand it.
Yes.
You said
how does your program provide the knowledge of self? Because I think you touched on it.
Yes, absolutely.
But I want to go into depth here in regards to knowledge of self and the key to success in our future minds as it relates to our youth.
Okay, so I want to start by reiterating what I stated about learning about our history as it relates to STEM. So when they're learning about their history, they're learning about themselves. So when, as Brother Tony Muhammad mentioned, he mentioned Imhotep. We could talk about Imhotep. We could talk about Katherine Johnson, or oh my goodness, I'm slipping. I'm thinking about who's the peanut guy. Oh, George Washington Carver. I'm thinking about him. George Washington Carver. Yes, yeah. People like George Washington Carver. And then even contemporary people like Jussie Russell, who's considered the father of 2G. A lot of people don't know that. Or Gladys Mays, who's the mother of GPS. So when they're learning about these contributions, they are getting knowledge of self. When you learn about history. And that's why history is very important. I know a lot of young folks think that history is something of the past. No, it's not something in the past. History is just as it's present as well. It's not just the past, it's also the present. And so when you're learning history, you are learning about self. That is knowledge of self. And so I did answer that. So you said, how does the program teach them knowledge of self? They learn their history, they learn their culture. They learn their culture. They learn their history. Well, their culture, they already know it. It's just being reaffirmed and reinforced in the context of the program. So their culture is being affirmed. They learn about their history. We start off with African proverbs. So they're learning about how our ancestors thought, their thought process, their thinking. So throughout these programs, they're learning knowledge of self, and that's something that's done throughout the program. Even our ethics. The ethics that we talk about within the Conscious Ingenuity program, we teach them the 7 principles of Ma'at: truth, justice, reciprocity, balance, order, propriety, and I feel like I'm missing another one, harmony. So those 7 principles of Ma'at, they learn about that within the program, and so they're learning. So what is that? That's character development. So all throughout the program, they're getting knowledge of self. They're getting knowledge of self. And what was the other part? You said something about keys to success.
Yes. So and the keys to the future minds as it relates to. So it's a double question, but I think you answered it based off of identifying when you know the knowledge of self, you will actually create the key to the success of the future minds. But I want to also add too, as it relates to certain principles, because in the Nation of Islam, we also teach freedom, justice, and equality,
That's right.
which equals Islam, and Islam is peace. So when you add those three together,
Come on.
it equals peace. And that's what we're trying to actually make as a peace. Because, like I said, we can have
Mm-mm-mm.
the mad scientists, right? But if you don't develop that peace
Come on.
within this and within itself, right, then you got chaos. You got some
Absolutely.
right. So I love when I say I absolutely adore your zeal,
Thank
your
you.
your integrity,
Ashe.
your man, I mean, your willingness, right? Because a lot of, I mean, I'm just being honest with you, we have a lot of people that have knowledge but lazy with it, don't
Mm-hmm.
want to
Mm-hmm.
share.
Mm-hmm.
They don't
Mm-hmm.
want to share. They don't want to pull up the statistics. They just want to aid and skate,
Mm.
do they 8 hours and say, hey, I'm done. Let me do me as they relate, so we have
Mm-mm-mm.
grown into this very selfish community that don't really identify that our children are the future. These are going to be your future doctors. These are going to be your future teachers. These are going to be your future scholars. And if
Mm-mm.
you're not pouring in the knowledge that you are doing on a constant basis, then our future is doomed. But I don't think it is, because we have people like yourself, Doc, that
Ashe.
always carrying the torch for
Ashe.
our youth. So I thank you. And I want to also add, in our program, we have what we call the Knowledge Corner.
Okay.
And the Knowledge Corner is a corner that, of course, when you gain knowledge, you gain power.
Mm.
And so I want to have our dear brother Mark, just talk about some more statistics in regards to that paradigm shift, because this is also something that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has given us as a curriculum, which is called, again, the educational paradigm
The
shift.
new educational
The
paradigm.
new educational paradigm shift. Thank you, Brother Tony, the philosopher. Uh, but I wanted to read, you have Brother Mark read just a little bit of statistics in regards to why it's important for this new educational paradigm shift. Go ahead, Brother Mark.
Okay, quoting from the minister. So it reads, now I want to quote a few ugly statistics. Maybe the previous speakers have said this, but I don't think it's trite to say these things again, because I want us to think. American 12th graders rank 19th out of 21 industrial countries in mathematics achievement, and 16th out of 21 nations in science. And our advanced physics students rank dead last. This is
Mhm.
only 32% of fourth graders are proficient in reading. 42 million American adults cannot read at all,
Mm.
and 50 million are unable to read at a higher level than is expected of a fourth or fifth grader. So 92 million out of 300 million in the greatest nation on earth are educationally deficient.
Mm.
And that number increases by some 2.25 million each year. 20% of all high school seniors are functionally illiterate. 13% of public school children were enrolled in special education. Half of those were considered learning disabled. Over half of all public schools reported a criminal incident to the police, and 10% of schools reported serious violent crimes. This is not Black statistics. This is the general American public. Now, I want to be more specific with Black education statistics. Only 12% of Black high school seniors are proficient readers, while 54% have below basic reading skills. It is estimated that 40 to 44% of Blacks, almost half of us, are functionally illiterate.
Right.
Mm.
Black are almost 3 times more likely than white children to be labeled mentally retarded. Black students are 2.5 times more likely to be placed in remedial or low track classes. even when Black students show potential that is equal to or above that of whites, they are 40% less likely to be placed in advanced or accelerated classes.
Mm.
2/3 of so-called minorities in public school fail to reach basic levels of national tests. And there continues to be marked disparities between Black and white students in the national SAT scores. 32% of all suspended students are Black, and Black students are twice as likely as whites to be suspended or expelled. The high school dropout rate in some inner city communities approaches 50%, and only 26% of Blacks who do finish high school go to college, while 37% of whites go to college. College educated Blacks are 4 times more likely than whites to experience unemployment.
Mm.
Black women account for nearly all of the gains made in Black enrollment in higher education since the mid 1980s. Women make up 60% of enrollment at Black colleges and 80% of the honor rolls. Where will these women find appropriate mates among our men? Babies with poorly educated mothers are more likely to die in the first year of life
Mm.
or have chronic health problems growing up. Black people are dramatically underrepresented in many professions. 3.2% of lawyers, 3% of doctors, and less than 1% of architects. Black males have both the lowest average level of educational attainment and the highest level, nearly 50% of workers with more education than their jobs require. So it doesn't make any difference what level of education we attain. The jobs that we don't even require, the jobs that we have don't even require the education we have. White males with a high school diploma are just as likely to have a job and tend to earn just as much as Black males with college degrees. Light-skinned Blacks have a 50% better chance of getting a job than dark-skinned Blacks.
Mm.
With statistics like this, if I were a doctor and America were the patient, we could say that America has flatlined.
Oh yeah.
Those kinds of statistics produce an educational challenge. That's
Mm.
why we choose the subject, the educational challenge, a new educational paradigm for the 21st century. This is telling us the type of thing that we are and must be engaged in, which is to stimulate or challenge our intellect over the problem that is found in education. That is our knowledge corner.
Mm.
Can I make a comment very quickly, because I work in the field of education. When it comes down to our children, our Black, Indigenous, um, quote unquote Latino children, because we're not really Latino or Latinx or anything like that.
Mhm.
But we have to work double, if not triply hard right now, because our children are at risk. As Dr. Maat was emphasizing, we have to put the proper images up so that they could see themselves throughout history and in the present.
Ashe.
One of my colleagues recently told me, well, we need to mainly focus on skills. At Gnosis, we can't just focus on the skills.
Mm-mm.
We also have to focus on the achievements, the true history of our people,
Mm-hmm.
all wrapped up into one. Dr. Maad, we can't just simply teach about the Pythagorean theorem. We
Mm-mm.
have to teach about how it's really not a Pythagorean theorem, because it
Come
did not
on.
originate from Pythagoras. It came from the Black Kemetic or Egyptian people there in the cradle of civilization.
Yeah,
Ashe. Ashe. Ashe.
And this is why we honestly adore you, because you are going and swimming against the tide of these statistics.
that's
Mm.
right.
So I listen, whatever we can do as the Seventh Region Coalition, where we're striving to save lives, we would love to be. well, we already sisters and brothers.
That's right.
That's a default,
That's
you know.
right.
But whatever we can do
Yeah.
as a allied, as a member of your tribe,
Ashe.
right? We will love and we will be honored to support.
Sister Kalila,
Ashe.
let's start off with this because what we do oftentimes is a labor of love, but it requires finances. So how can
Right.
people support you, Dr. Mad? How
Yeah.
can they
They
make a contribution?
Thank you so much. They can actually cash at me and give thanks. A lot of brothers and sisters, they do. They can cash at me at $, and let me throw this in the private chat.
Yeah.
Please
Dollar
do.
sign. Let me see.
Yes.
Support our sister. She's come on to the program. This is
Yes.
a labor of love, but labor of love don't mean that you don't have to. You shouldn't make a contribution, family.
That's
That's
right.
I appreciate that. I really do. But it's $ Dr. Maat MAAT 02. So $DRMAAT 02. That is my cash app. That is my cash
Please.
app. And it comes directly to me. So you don't have to worry about it's going here, it's going there. It comes directly to me.
good.
And
Good.
in the for, just put what it's for, supporting your programs or the UACI or whatever,
Right.
whatever it's for, just make sure that you put that. And I do appreciate that. I appreciate your words. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you filling my cup. My cup is full tonight.
Man,
You really filled my cup. I'm just sitting here thinking about the knowledge that was exchanged, the energy that was exchanged, and it was just dynamic. And it's always great to be in a space like this where we can have conversations like this, with your people, and your people, they get it, they get you, and that you get them, and
That's
so
right.
I do appreciate the invitation to be here. But Sister Muhammad, there was one thing you said. We said a lot. You dropped a lot of jewels. But the last thing that you talked about, you were saying how a lot of us kind of look out for ourselves.
Mhm.
And as soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, individualism. Like
Mhm.
we have really become individualistic.
Yeah.
And that's not who we are. And that is why knowledge of self is more important, that we give our children knowledge of self.
Mhm.
That's more important than ever, because the longer we stay under the domination of these people,
Come on. Come on.
we becoming just like them.
Yep.
I have conversations with my family members all the time. I'm like, do you look at how we treat our children and how our children respond to us now? It's very similar to how white folks operate.
Right.
We're starting
Right.
really, and even when you look at crimes, like I remember being a kid, and I know I'm telling my age. I was born in 81. So I remember growing up,
Oh,
in
you're a
the early.
You're a
baby.
Baby, oh my gosh.
I don't,
Born in 81, like
look,
she
look, I'm gonna eat it all up, right? Because I don't feel like it when I'm in front of my students. They like, what cordless phones? What are you talking about? I'm like, golly, y'all don't remember the rotary phones? They're like, no, and I'm
No.
like, goodness gracious, So I feel like old every day because all these young folks around me. But I remember growing up in the 80s, and when there was crime, when crimes were being committed, and the news would come on, even if they didn't show the person, we knew by the crime if the person was white or black, And I remember
Right.
my
That
mom
is
would
true.
sit there, she's looking at the news. Oh, that's not a black person. Oh, that's somebody white. They're not showing them, but that's somebody white. Now you don't know what's happening. You're like,
Right.
is that us? Or is it them?
Right.
Because we've been under their domination. They dominate. They have. We've been under it for so long that we're literally becoming them. We're starting to adopt their psychopathologies. It was certain things back in the day that black men and women just did not do, and
Right.
now we're doing it. And
Right.
so, soon as you talked about individualism, I automatically thought about how we are becoming them, and that's a part of their culture. We are a communal people. We're not individualistic by
Right.
nature, but because we've been under their domination culturally for so long, we're literally adopting a lot of their psychopathologies. And I'll land my plane right there.
And to add to that, it's all based off of design. I mean,
Right.
if you think about it, if you go into your community, they actually have you stuck there because everything that you need is in your community. You're not going across town anymore. because everything is there. And then what you do, you'll tell the other people, man, I don't go on that side of town, child. Y'all don't got nothing over there. Everything I got is over here. I don't need to go over there. But what you're doing, you're downgrading the godness in you. You're destroying the godness in you, because God is what? Everything.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. So if you're not even wanting to go down the street, that means you're saying that you're not a God.
Kalila, we've lost the conception of what a black-owned business is. We think that, we go to Dollar General, it's right around the corner from our house, because black folks work in there. Oh, that's a black-owned business. No, it isn't.
God, no.
Oh, no.
But that's what we've become.
Right. Yeah, that is true. That is true.
We have to reteach and retrain.
Right. Even to go to the bathroom. Praises be to.
Absolutely.
Please, closing remarks.
Well, again, I just want to thank you all. Thank you, Brother Tony. Thank you for reaching out to me.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I had a good time tonight. I'm telling you, when I say my cup is full, I am high right now. My cup is full. I got to have a great intellectual exchange with some great black people. Yes. And I love and enjoy every bit of it. I want to thank your listeners.
Thank you.
I want to thank your listeners for tuning in. I know I went live also on my channel. I want to thank them for tuning in, because they could have been anywhere.
Right.
They were right here with us, having such a beautiful and divine discussion. So I want to thank you all. I want to thank them. And I hope that you all will support. And when I say you all, I'm talking about the panel and everyone under the sound of my voice. Please make sure you support these STEM camps, Conscious Ingenuity. Also, the camp. I'm wearing Meltrek.
Yes,
yes. Please support the Meltrek program. Meltrek is an animated series that teaches children about the history and achievements of Black people from a Black perspective. So earlier you heard Brother Tony Muhammad mention Muhammad. We talk about Muhammad in the first episode in Meltrek Exploring Ancient Africa. We talk about Kemet. We talk about melanin. We show our babies that we built great civilizations prior to our contact with Arabs and Europeans. We teach them that. And so they learn that history in Meltrek episode 1. In Meltrek episode 2, they learn about the Black and brown presence in the Americas prior to the arrival of Christopher Columbus. And that these people weren't savages. These were people that had thriving civilizations. They had code of conduct. They had culture. They were practicing mathematics, spirituality. So they learned that type of stuff.
Civilized
and they were civilized people. and they learned that in Meltrek episode 2, and we exposed Christopher Columbus for who he is in Meltrek episode 2. We just recently released Meltrek episode 3, where we're talking about the origins of the transatlantic, we call it the kidnapping trade, but the transatlantic slave trade. So we just released that, the first installment of a 3-part series that is dedicated to talking about the era of teaching our babies about the era of enslavement. So family, make sure that you support the Meltrek series. You can go to Meltrek365.com. I'll drop that in the chat. Also, Meltrek365.com. You can go to that website and you can download the films instantly. Like, you click on it, it's a digital download. You can get it right now. So please go to Meltrek365.com to get the Meltrek project. Lastly, we have 2 training camps, an all boys training camp and an all-girls training camp that functions during the summer. It's an in-person camp right here in Baltimore, and it occurs the first Sunday of the last Sunday of July every summer, like clockwork, for 1 week. And it's called the Asafo Training Camp and the Agoji Training Camp. And we make sure that our young men are working with men. We make sure that our young girls are working with women, and they're getting manhood. And I know you all have that with the FOI training.
Absolutely.
And then what's the other one? Is
the
MGT training and FOI training. So we have our version of that with the Asafo training camp and the Agoji training camp, where they're learning life skills, character development, physical fitness, critical thinking skills, and etc. So please, family, make sure that you get your children enrolled in the camps. And even though they're based in Baltimore, we get parents from all over. Sister Rashamella, she brings her son down from New York. So we have parents that came from New York, Atlanta, North Carolina, DC, all over. They come and they kick it in Baltimore for a week with us while their son or daughter goes through the program. So make sure that you go to the asafocamp.com and the agojicamp.com to take advantage of these youth empowerment programs. And I'm going to drop those
How
links in
long
chat.
are the programs?
So the Asafo training camp and the Agoji training camp, the camp is for 1 week. But then we have activities going on all year round where they may connect, once a month, but physically get up with each other during that week. But we do have stuff going on all year round where we do connect and touch base with the campies. So, but to answer your question, it's 1 week. And I need more funding. If I get more funding, the ultimate goal is to have it for a month. That's what I want. A month during the summer where our babies are just with us, the month of July, getting that training. So let me drop the link in the chat, asafocamp.com, and then the agojicamp.com. So please make sure, family, that you support these endeavors. All of these youth empowerment camps. So you got Meltrek, you got Conscious Ingenuity, you have the UACI, you have the Asafo, you got the Agoji. And so we need to make sure that we take advantage of these youth empowerment programs.
Oh, praise due to Allah.
Oh man, this is some good stuff.
We're gonna bring you back on for
We
part
got to.
two.
We got to.
I'm here.
Dr. Mahad.
We got to.
We got to build some more, and we got to make some more connections among our people.
Yes.
And really do everything that we can to build a stronger people in this hour of wickedness, which is becoming darker by the second.
Really. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely want to go bring you back to talk about the God mind.
Let's do it.
You gotta
Let's do it. Let's do it. God mind. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So I definitely want to bring you back up. And Brother Tony, we do have also
we need support too. We do need support too.
That's right. That's right.
we need your support, family. And so I'm going to repeat this. We what we do is a labor of love, dear family. But StreamYard don't understand that. The founders of StreamYard, they don't understand. They're like, oh, that's so nice. You're saving lives. We'll pat you on the back. And, no, man. They don't operate like that. And we're not expecting them to. We do need your support as a family, because we are family. Please support with whatever you can tonight. And may Allah God continue to bless you and your family. You could put any amount. No amount is too little. You could just put a couple of dollars on there. You could, I've said this before. You could put $5 on it. Don't sing the rest of the song though. $10, $20, whatever you can. $100, $1,000. Hey, if you want to donate $100,000, we're not going to stop you. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for tuning in tonight. May Allah God continue to bless you all. Thank you for your support, family.
Listen, we'll break bread with our sister.
Absolutely. We will.
Ashe.
We absolutely will.
Ashe. Appreciate it.
Well, Brother Tony, with that being said, can you close us out?
In the immortal words of Brother Lyle, if he's tuning in, we're not a clique, we're not a crew, we're not a gang. What are we? We are the 7th Region Coalition. Help save lives. Tune in next week, dear family. Assalamu alaikum.